All right, everybody. I'm live right here with Mr. James Tignor, a good friend of mine. I've been knowing practically ever since I was a little kid, 6 years old, and he is also a proud graduate of Jack Yates class of 1956. And most of you guys might know him as being the assistant principal over at Cullen Middle School, and some of you might know him over at Woodson. And some of you might even know him being the principal over there at Dick Dowling. But today, we're talking about the legends of Jack Yates' Fabulous 50 football teams that happened up under Coach Pat Patterson and the principal, Mr. William Holland. And Mr. James Tignor, I feel very honored to be here with you. And tell us, Mr. Tignor, some of the legendary football players that came out of Jack Yates at 2610 Elgin.
Thank you, Booley. First of all, let me mention the fact that John Bo Farrington went with the Chicago Bears. He was on that 56 team. Also, David Webster was the quarterback on that team, and he went with the Kansas City Chiefs by way of Prairie View. And we have a lot of outstanding football players who graduated, and some of them now judges, some of them now own their own companies. Some of them have been retired principals, like you heard from Pastor Dixon.
Some of the good guys that came out, all these guys come out. Let's start with some of the people that you knew, because you was on the football team of Jack Yates' class of 1955 football team, because y'all graduated in 56.
Right.
So you was on the 55 team.
I was on the 55 team.
And, and we're talking about some of the good legends that came out in the 55 team that you was on.
Okay, I just mentioned John Bo Farrington, David Webster, and of course myself, now principal, ex-principal, retired principal. Homer Williams used to be a pastor at Jones Memorial. He's now retired.
And some of those guys, Mr. Tignor, that we want to do, because what we want to do, like I told Pastor Dixon, is come up with some legends that these young people can identify with over at Jack Yates. Okay. Because see, right now, the only ones they identify is the 1985 state championship team, and we know, and I know, that Jack Yates football history go way back to 2016 Elgin. And to see some of these good guys like you remember you saying about Bo Farrington. I remember Bo Farrington being a superstar for the Chicago Bears. I remember when he was in the accident with Willie Gallimore. Right. Getting killed. These are superstar people that need to be recognized. Then I remember hearing some about Ollie Matson, that he had to go way to California because the opportunities here in Houston was not existent because of the Jim Crow law that we had here. So a lot of people that was graduating out of Jack Yates, even your class in 56, I remember Mr. Chester Land. He had to go way to California. All these people had to leave the state of Texas, like Pastor Dixon said, because they didn't have the opportunity because of the Jim Crow and the segregation that we were faced with. In search of these good football players, as you remember saying about Coach Reverend Calvin Scott, a big minister of my mother ministry over there at St. Emmanuel Baptist Church. His son, I never knew he had a son that played football. His name was Calvin Scott. And then we remembered another good friend of my mother family also went to Jordan Grove, Mergen Stevens. Yes. I didn't know Mergen played football. See, all of these are information that you are gathering to me that I'm able to pass on to some of those Jack Yates people that's out there today. Yeah. To let y'all know, it was a Jack Yates football team at 2610 Elgin. And the coach was Coach Pat Patterson. And the principal over there was Mr. William Holland. Because over there now at Jack Yates, we have no legacy or nothing with Mr. Holland name on it. We have nothing over there with Coach Pat Patterson name on it. We have nothing over there with Raymond Daniels name on it, which is that new aquarium swimming pool they got there. We have nothing there with Coach Doc Evans name on it. We have none of that. They got a brand new baseball field that could be named after Coach Pat Patterson. And they got and here it is now. I would say going on 63 years since Yates moved from over there on 2610 Elgin. Right. And and to see this come about right now and see some of the names that you were saying, and we mentioned something about Mr. Joe Martell. He was a big football fan, a football player over at Jack Yates.
That's right. Yes, he was. He's a tremendous, hell of a football player.
And then we talk about Mr. Raymond Daniels. He was a good football player over there at Jack Yates. And then we talk about Mr. Dumas Lane. Dumas Lane was a good football player over there at Jack Yates. These are some of the legends that we want to put in our Jack Yates legendary Fabulous 50 football team. That's right. And this is what we're trying to do, Coach Dixon and Coach Tignor. And we want to put that together. And with the help of you and Pastor Dixon, we can put this together because there's so much history there. And you're talking about this this guy named George Galloway. Is it Gregory? George.
Stalky Gray, George Stalky Gray.
Now, see, some of you people that raised up in my era, listen to this. This is Stalky Gray. Stalky Gray that used to be with Stringfellow? Well, then he used to be a famous football player himself. We're talking about Mr. Stringfellow that they named that police center out there on Macau Road, y'all.
That's right.
Yeah, this is his brother. We was all raised up in the 60s thinking about Stalky Gray and Stringfellow and how mean Stalky Gray used to be, but we didn't know the positive things about Stalky Gray being one of the Jack Yates outstanding football players under Coach Patterson. We didn't know nothing about this. And we thank Mr. Tignor for bringing this information to us.
Master Homer Williams, Edward Bo Murray, these are outstanding. Went on to Grambling College, made All-American.
See, these are the people, and then when we put up this Jack Yates legendary 50s, Fabulous 50s page on Facebook, all of these people that Mr. Tignor and Pastor Dixon mentioned, all of these people will be into that page. And without Pastor Dixon and Mr. Tignor, this would not be possible.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to try to make it possible, because we are slowly losing our black history.
Yeah.
And when we lose our black history, these young black people, they ain't going to know where they come from.
Right.
So therefore, they will never know where in the hell they're going.
That's right.
So if you care about our race and you care about saving our black history, because they're not teaching black history in school today.
That's right.
And the only way these kids going to learn is through this computer. And the only way they're going to learn through this computer is through the Facebook and the social media of the YouTube and the Google.
That's right.
And that's what we want to do. Put this information out there so they can have it. Let's say this generation that we living in today, they might not want it. But let's don't rob the new generation.
Right.
Because you don't know what they might want.
That's right.
So I'm here today, Facebook family and YouTube family, with two of the legendary people. And then I'm also blessed to have Mr. Ronnie Evans, who we're going to talk to. And there's so much history that he's got. So much being a principal over there at Ebony Worthy. Yeah. His family and his roots came from 3rd Ward. Most families and roots that lived in Sunnyside, their DNA came from 3rd Ward. Yeah. So we are here today to get all of that, as much as information as we possibly can. And we want to thank Mr. James Tignor and Mr. Tignor. Now, we talk about your class and the 55 class. And, and we can't help but to think about the Turkey Day Classic. How many Turkey Day Classic did you play in? I know 55 was your last year.
I played in 2. Mm-hmm. I played in 2. The 50, 54, 55, yeah. 53, 54. And they won 22-16. And we led 0-0 in the 55 Classic.
Mm-hmm. And we look back at that, and I see so much history there. And then I know I have a lot of people that looks at me and keeps up with my Facebook and videos from Phyllis Wheatley. And we looking at Miss Jean Solomon, who married John Solomon, and John Solomon is somebody who need to be recognized inside of this fabulous 50s legends too. See, and we want to give all these young people their credit, so their generation of their grandkids or great grandkids will be able to see them, And we want to also make sure we get Mr. Sammy Taylor.
That's right.
These people have meant so much to Jack Yates. Mr. James Peterson, man, these people mean so much. Mr. Jerry Jenkins, all of these people was part of Jack Yates' football team of 1955. And, we look back at Mr. Elwood Wilkinson, Manuel Powell, Andrew Stevens, and we look at Paul Dickory. Is that Dockery?
Dockery.
Oh, man, and them Dockerys go way back, don't they?
Yes, sir.
A lot of them Dockerys are like trimmers and squares. You never got enough of them. They don't count that far. And we also got Mr. David Webster, and then Harold Young,
This is Vincent Young's uncle.
And most of the people that we talking about, y'all, Mr. Harold Young. Now, for some of y'all might not recognize Harold Young, but that's Vince Young's uncle.
That's right.
That's for some of you. One of the largest crowd to participate in a Turkey Day Classic. Almost 40,000 people came out there, y'all. And those were the people that was accountable for. That wasn't all the people that got in free. All the ones that sneaked over the fence. All the ones that went under the fence. And all the ones that got in because they knew the right people to get in. So when you talk about all them people, and then you're talking about close to 60,000 people, man. I hate to say it, but that's almost, if you round it out, it's every bit of 50,000 people.
That's right.
And, and they all crammed up in that stadium. And just like Reverend Dixon and Coach would say back in the day, and you look at some of the superstars that came out during them days. And you look at some of the superstars that came out during them days, and it's so amazing. And this is what me, Mr. James Tignor, and also Pastor Dixon, we're going to be putting together a Jack Yates Legendary Fabulous 50s on Facebook page. And you will be able to see these people's names who have did so much for Jack Yates football program. Not only Jack Yates, but Jack Yates 2610 Elgin that some people don't even know. Some people just think 2610 Elgin is the home of the Ryan Cubs. But no, that's not true. 2610 Elgin is the home of the original Jack Yates. That's right. With Mr. William Holland and Mr. James D. Ryan. And it's just the idea in 58. When Yates got to be a senior high school and moved at 3703 Sampson, that's when it became Ryan Junior High School, and later on it became Ryan Middle School. So let's just get the record straight. And we appreciate it so much, Mr. Tignor, and we're going to put all these things together that just let you show some of the things that Mr. Tignor have put together right here. Just hold it up, Mr. Tignor, so they can see it in front of the stream. Hold it all on up. All of this is stuff of the history that we're going to be putting it up. Put it all up, Mr. Tignor. Put one, there you go. All of this is part of the history that we're going to be showing on the Jack Yates Fabulous 50 Legendary Fabulous 50 Jack Yates page. And all of this is the history of our Jack Yates line at 2610 Elgin. So I thank you, Mr. Tignor, and I thank Reverend Dixon for letting us use his church here in Independent Heights. I know we're in the home of the Washington Eagles, but the bottom line, the Washington Eagles are blessed with us because we got their pastor here. And then it just go to show you, Pastor Dixon, Jack Yates got Tiffany Gilroy. All of her roots come from Booker T. Washington. That's right. And I hope y'all will be able to tell Miss Gilroy that we in her hometown, Independent Heights.
That's right.
The home of the Washington Eagles. Booker T. Washington Eagles, one of the first black high schools, is the first black high school we had here in Houston. So, Mr. Tignor, I thank you so much for your time, and me and you and Mr. Dixon, Reverend Dixon, we're going to put something together for these young people so they can have some kind of legend or some kind of history of the Jack Yates program, not only football program, but also the track, the basketball, the baseball, and even like Principal Ronnie Evans might say, even the academics.
That's right.
Because, we look at the academics, and the first thing we know that come out of the academic in 1956 is Chester Land.
That's true. He was the president of our class.
So we're going to do all of that, because we want to try to preserve this black history while me, Robert Booley Williams, Mr. James Tignor, and Pastor Dixon, while we still living. Because we are leaving too much legacy behind going out there to the cemetery. We burying a lot of our black history.
That's right.
And we need to try to preserve some of it while we still living.
That's right.
And I say this to say this, Coach Tignor, I'm going to call you Coach, because you have been a coach to so many people over there at Cullen and Dick Darling and all the middle schools that you worked at, is that before I close out, I was with a good friend of mine, Mr. Eddie Well, Phyllis Wheeler of 1959. And me and Eddie went to talk to Mr. Singletary out there in Fifth Ward.
Yeah.
And we said that we were going to do something on Mr. Singletary. Mm-hmm. So I told Mr. Singletary and Eddie Wells, and Mr. Singletary's office was right out there off of Liberty Road, right over there by the Magna Box Club.
Yeah, that's right.
And we went over there, and and I talked to him, and I said, well, man, Eddie, let's just hold off. I told him and Mr. Singletary, I said, let's just hold off to the first of the year. And that way we got something to show the people in 3rd Ward and 5th Ward. And do you know, Coach Tignor, the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday, Eddie Webb died. The next day, that Saturday, Mr. Singletary died. They had the funeral the same day. That's right. But that just lets you know how short life is and how much we can't take for granted.
Tomorrow's not promised.
And we need to get all the history we can while we all still living.
That's right.
Because the young people need our experience to guide them, because they don't have no guardians.
That's right.
We got mothers that strung out on drugs, mothers that just trying to get kids for financial use, still are looking at trying to raise kids. So we need something for this new generation. Let's say if this old generation don't want it, okay. Let's say all of them don't want it, okay. But let's don't deprive some of the new generation. The people are being born right now as we speak. Let's don't deprive them of our history, because God blessed us with it to let us go through this, to tell about it. So it's only right to us as blacks, and you guys, you and Coach, you and the pastor is older than me. I looked up to y'all when I was coming up as my big brother. I looked up to y'all as my role model. So it's up to us to try to, and God blessing me to be able to document this stuff and put it into Google and put it on the internet for people to be able, not only here in Houston, but people all over the world, black, white, orange, whatever. Right. Because this whole world is sick.
That's right.
And we need healing.
That's right.
So it is what it is. It is what it is, man. I mean, these are just facts.
That's right.
I hate to say it, Pastor, but these are facts. Because we got so many people that's right now that's so selfish, and they don't want to give up all these old wicked ways they got, and they steady wondering why we coming up with all these different diseases.
Yeah.
It don't have a rocket scientist to figure this out.
That's right.
We as a race of people, we got to stop being so selfish and so jealous.
That's right.
And get rid of our wicked ways. And maybe God might hear us, maybe, and heal our land. I say this to get us to you.
Well, let me say this also. People, they're dying every day. Please go ahead and get your vaccination.
Yeah.
Go get your vaccination. Don't just wait until you get sick. Go get it now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, you heard that from the coach and Mr. James Tignor. Thank y'all so much.